What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have the replacement engine that's going to be going into my G35 drift car build. Now there's a lot of stuff that I want to do to this from a reliability standpoint to make sure that this engine is going to be good before it gets tossed in. All right, so I think I've reached a pretty good point here. I have all of the accessories off. They're all right down here on the floor. I'm pretty sure I can leave this on. I can leave that on. I'm probably gonna have to remove this big 17mm bolts. Everything else on this side should be fine. So I think the only thing I have left is to get this crank pulley off. I don't have a 19mm impact socket, so I might end up running to the store and just trying to grab an impact socket, because that more or less should allow me to remove this without having to prevent the flywheel from spinning, because the impact won't actually place all that much like constant torque on the crank. So I'm thinking that's probably what I'm gonna go do. Actually, you know what? Hang on a second. Oh yeah. Is this? Oh no way. The massive 19mm Lyle socket for the Honda crank pulley bolt is also a 19mm, and so that fits right on. I don't even have to go to the store. So we've got big Gen 3 Milwaukee impact and big massive socket. That's what I'm talking about. Put that thing on power 3. Watch that. Oh, hell yeah. That thing. All right, so let me grab some earplugs actually, because I might end up having to really give this thing the beans. Let's see if this Milwaukee Gen 3 is actually the truth. Let's just give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a pulse for a couple seconds and just see what happens. Let's find out. Oh, I can see it turning already. I literally just, for that quick, and I saw the bolt start to turn a bit. Dude. Threads are perfect. Where was this when I was trying to do the Honda crank bolt? That was a freaking breeze. I just gave it a little bite. Oh man, that was a freaking piece of cake, dude. I'm genuinely shocked. Like, this is an authentic reaction. Like, I'm not overplaying this. I was absolutely surprised at how easily that just yanked this thing right out of there. Have to get the pulley off now. Once we have the pulley off and we have the timing cover fully pulled off, then we can set it to top dead center, and we'll make sure all of our timing is correct before we take anything out. Well, I was being a little generous with it, with the flathead, just trying to sort of pry it off a little bit, but I grabbed my dead blow, not a metal hammer, a nice soft plastic, or if you have like a mallet or something, all right? Looks like that is working. Just give a couple of taps and then a couple of pries. Try not to do any damage to the timing cover. Oh, there we go. Feels pretty loose. All right. And there we go. Front main seal looks pretty good. That's one of the things I wanted to check. All right, so with that done, I believe we just need to do this one big 17mm. And then I think that's it. I don't think, there might be some bolts facing up into the cover. Basically, is there anything coming in from underneath that I need to remove? I believe it should be everything. It should be everything. So now we just need to get a handful of flatheads, scrape off some of this RTV that's on the top, and then just try and start giving a few little love taps. I kept wondering why it was so difficult to get the bottom of this loose. And yes, in fact, it turns out that there are 2 bolts in this upper oil pan that go vertically up into the bottom of the timing cover. There are in fact 2 12mm bolts up under here. So I've gone ahead and taken the 10mm bolts off of the lower oil pan. I went ahead and drained the oil out here. Took out all the 10mm bolts. Now I just need to pry this lower oil pan off, and then I can get to those 2 bolts on the bottom. All right, well, it popped. Can't believe I didn't. Those are the only 2 that I can reasonably see would go with the timing cover. Oh, freaking finally. That took way longer than expected. So now we've got a whole lot of gasket material around the edge of the timing cover and around the edge of the front of the block. So with the timing cover off, we can actually get to all of the work. What I need to do first, before I start removing anything, is essentially set the engine to top dead center. So cylinder 1 is at the top on the compression stroke. So what I'm gonna do is take the crankshaft pulley bolt, put it back in with a spacer. I found one of these large nuts. So basically I have this spacer in between the bolt and the crankshaft itself so that I don't bottom out the threads and potentially cause some damage to it. So I'm gonna set this to top dead center. It's actually super, super close right now, which is kind of annoying that I'm gonna have to back this up like a couple of degrees. So I have to do a whole nother round, spin this around clockwise until the marks line up. Don't take my word for how to time this engine, because I might very well screw this whole thing up. This is not like the BRZ series. This is an engine completely foreign to me. So I'm gonna grab a 19mm and we are going to turn this engine over. That's tight, that's tight. So now that we're top dead center for cylinder 1, and I know that we're top dead center for cylinder 1 on the compression stroke, because the cams here line up with 10 o'clock essentially and 2 o'clock essentially. And whoever at Nissan came up with this design and thought this was a good idea, you're the worst. Basically, what we're looking to replace is the gasket behind this piece. So this little cover here and there is one solid piece. And then this piece, this long piece right here, there's a gasket under there. And they have paper, like super thin paper gaskets that you can actually just barely see right here, kind of sticking out of the top right there. That is the gasket that we are trying to replace. Also, who designed these as Phillips head screws? Who in their right mind, with all of this metric stuff, wouldn't just put like hex key, like Allen, or even Torx or something? Like, Phillips, really? Come on, what are we doing? Let's get the timing chain off, and then we'll pull out the new set of gaskets for the gallery. And the only one of these that's gonna be tough is this guy up here. Apparently you can get this off without having to remove this cam phaser. Yeah, this one's not bad because it's kind of down low. I should be able to get a screwdriver at that relatively easily. We're gonna give it a shot. I really hope that I don't end up having to remove this cam phaser because I just don't want to have to do the extra work. Trying to get this chain off, but all right, there we go. One original chain out of the way. Old chain, which honestly is not even really that old because this is a pretty low mileage motor, but we don't reuse timing components. All right, so we have our new, what do we call them? Gallery gaskets here. And they should be only one way. Obviously the big long one's gonna go up top and the smaller one is gonna go on the bottom. Now, in addition to this, because of the fact that I just took all the timing components off, I got a full brand new set of all of the different timing components, new guides, new tensioner, which is in this little box here, new chains, all of that kind of stuff. So now we've got to get to the gallery gaskets. And for this, again, for most of these, all but one of these, I don't think it's going to be too hard of a job. But for this one all the way up at the top, you want a screwdriver that is impact safe. So this is, you know, a metal shaft all the way through the handle and has a like a hardened tip on it. So that guy I'm going to use all the way up on this one at the top so I can get just enough friction on it. Give slight little taps, nothing crazy. We're not wailing away on this. We might just go ahead and try that one first, honestly. Instead of saving it for last, if we can knock that one out and just be done with it, it would make me feel a little bit more comfortable or a little bit more confident. So let's go ahead and get the problem child out of the way. So these little guys are what we're after. Yeah, that little dude right there with the freaking Phillips head. I didn't try super hard to get that one out because I'm afraid. Genuinely, I am concerned. So, because some of, like, this second one from the top was not wanting to move at all. This guy right here. See, some of them come loose, not easily, but easier than others. Oh, I just rounded that. One of these little flatheads just rounded over on me. It's not terrible yet, but it's not great. Hey, all right, mission accomplished for the most part. The thing that I was the most stressed about, obviously, was this one bolt that's all the way up in the top. I think if I zoom in here, yeah, you can just see it. This right here, there's a little bolt hole that you might be able to see. Yeah, this guy right here. Oh, that one. That's the one that I had to like get the screwdriver up at an angle at, and these things were extraordinarily tight, especially for Phillips heads inside an engine. And this right here, my Harbor Freight one, has a slightly wider head. Not to say that this is a bad screwdriver, just this one fit the screws perfectly, whereas this one was a little small, so hence why it's stripped. I just took my adjustable wrench, stuck it on the inside of this, tightened it down as much as I could, basically stood up, got my screwdriver on the bolt, and then put my weight in towards the engine as I was able to press and turn the wrench around. And that is what helped me get all of those bolts off. Very glad that that is all done. Oh, there we go. Seems like that just broke the seal. Oh yeah, there we go. Paper gaskets, which on this engine, they look fine, but it is possible for them to leak through even if they're technically still intact. Oh man, these things suck. Yeah, look, it just like disintegrates, it just falls apart. And the one that I'm replacing it with is more of like a fiber, like a composite type. So I'm gonna try to do effectively the same thing over here, wedge off this whole pistol shaped top one, get that back on there, and then the Z1 Motorsports gallery gasket kit actually does come with new hardware that is Allen. I think it's an H4, it's a size 4 hex. So we're gonna be replacing most of the hardware with that. I'm gonna go ahead and get all of these paper gaskets off of here, put the new ones on, bolt it back together, and then we will do the new timing components, and then cover goes back on. Every single person involved in designing these can catch these hands. Like, look at how poorly this is coming off. I'm having to like chip it away with a little scraper tool. Like, what are we doing? You got rubber O-rings everywhere. You couldn't get a rubber gasket in this shape. You can get rubber gaskets in all kinds of crazy shapes and formations for water pumps, oil pumps, all kinds. Like, what is this? Who? Why? All right, well, I got a little bit ahead of myself as I was working on this. I got the both of the pieces off and I got them cleaned up. So here is essentially what both of those pieces looked like on the back side, if we want to focus. Yeah, so basically got all of that paper gasket material which was stuck on there cleaned off, and we've got nice, bright, shiny metal underneath. So the other one I've already got on there, or at least working on getting it on there, and you can tell I have the new hardware, which is the hex hardware and not the those dang Phillips head screws anymore. And so I'm breaking out my torque wrench because we torque to spec in this house. Even the factory service manual, the FSM, does not say a damn thing about the gallery gaskets. If you download the factory service manual, which has everything about the timing components, how to rebuild rods and pistons, it doesn't say not a single thing about the gallery gaskets and how to remove them or any of that. Hence why there's so many different YouTube videos about it, because it's so dumb. So because there is no legitimate official torque spec, I'm just gonna assume that because these are small bolts, we're going to 10 foot-pounds, roughly. These are like not even the equivalent to 10mm bolts. Let's see what like 6 foot-pounds feels like in terms of pressure to actually get it to close there. So when I'm torquing these, I'm not gonna try to go in like a star pattern or anything. I think I'm just gonna go from the inside outwards, basically to get the gasket to set in the middle and then squeeze out, I think. Again, there's nothing in the official manual on how to do this. Oh yeah, that's very light. Like, you guys can't really see where my hand is, but I mean, that's 6 foot-pounds right there. So what if we crank this to 10 and see what 10 gets us in terms of force to close? We're gonna go 8. That's 8 foot-pounds. I think I'm gonna have to do the Phillips head screw on this one, which is right underneath this cam phaser, which is not, this one's not that hard to get to. This one is obviously the worst. Hence why we had so much trouble with it earlier. All of these are done. Now, the bottom one is easy peasy. All right, gallery gaskets, freaking done. It's been a long day. I'm very tired. So we're gonna call it here. I'm gonna cover this up just so that nothing happens to land in it. I'll probably just kind of toss a trash bag over top of it. And then tomorrow we'll come back, clean up all of these surfaces that have RTV left over on them, timing chain, clean up all the surfaces on the timing cover, put the timing cover back on, and that'll wrap it up. And we're back. I have been working on cleaning up all of the leftover RTV from the timing cover. So we're looking relatively good here. You can see that that looks pretty clean all the way around. So now we basically just need to do the same thing for this, the face on the block where the timing cover will go on this way. And I kind of want to do that before I put all the timing components back on. So we're going to go ahead and tackle the cleaning right now because things are going to get dirty. It's going to get dirty one way or the other. So I'm going to have to do a good thorough cleaning, and I'd rather clean everything with the timing chain and guides off so that I'm cleaning sort of behind those, as opposed to having them in place and then having to go through and try and clean in between the timing chain and all that kind of stuff. I need to get this square opening, these 3 spots, and this. So before I pull this trash bag off, let me hit those. Now, because the oil pan is exposed, I kind of don't want to use that die grinder. I kind of just want to stick to razor blades and or scraper tools. So we're gonna get our crankshaft pulley bolts out. So now I'm gonna get my new crank gear. One side obviously has green paint on it, which I didn't know, but the front one has the timing mark, which is what you need to line up with the inside of the case, and the back side does not have the timing mark. So that's one of the ways that you know. And while we're in here, might as well wipe this down some more. Just get any of that leftover gunk pulled out of there. Some folks would swear that you need to replace the water pump while you're in here. I didn't order a water pump, and that is one of the things that I'm willing to leave in there. We'll torque to 10 foot-pounds first, and then we'll go to 15 after that. All right, got that guide. We will lay the timing chain over, teeth facing up, because the teeth on the top are what grab along the actual water pump. 2 pink dots at the top, 1 orange dot down at the bottom. So we'll just go ahead and see if this wants to just line up perfectly for us. That's what I didn't want to happen. It's not a big deal that that jumped. It's not gonna cause any damage. It's only off by 15 degrees. Now that most of this slack is out, I need to get this, like, I realized that the dang chain is gonna be tight because it's brand new, but good, it's googly moogly. There we go. All right. That one's correct. This one's correct, but there's slack. This one needs a slight adjustment. I know that if I try to crank this to the right, this cam is probably gonna wanna jump on me. So use my knee. I'm off by 1 tooth, I'm on, and I'm off by 1 tooth. So now this is on, a little bit of tension out of this. This needs to get 1 more link, which actually, can I do? Yes. Okay, so we're on here, we're on there, we're on right there. Okay, so now I need to, very carefully, I should have removed this earlier, that's for sure. We're gonna get our main tensioner guide put on here, go this way. We're gonna take our new tensioner, which should be in this here box. Actually, let's lift this up and then get our tensioner. Oh wow, that is something. The little pin in my tensioner is wanting to come out, which is not ideal. So I'm gonna hold that pin in. Basically, I have slack mostly on this side, right here. You can see this slack right here. So I'm trying to get that worked out by creating a little bit of droop in this because of the fact that that top guide has a little bottom sort of crescent to it. I know that I'm gonna need, if there's any slack anywhere, it's gonna need to be in the top. So I'm gonna hold this pin in because I don't want this thing to come undone on me. I'm just gonna rotate this back slightly. I don't know how the heck I'm gonna get this top guide in there, but ditch the worst looking bolts. This says FR on it, on the front. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see that. Yeah, it says FR right there. I'm assuming that means front. The back side does not say BA, as in back. So I'm taking a guess, but I mean, it's pretty symmetrical one way or the other. So I'm gonna try and slide this guy in here, drop this down, put tension on it. Oh yeah, this isn't too bad. Oh yeah, dude, this is freaking easy breezy piece of cake. Your in time right here, slightly to the left. In time here, slightly to the left. In time here, slightly to the left. Okay, so everything should be good. The only slack we have is just a hair right here, which the tensioner should take out once we're good. Now I'm gonna take a pause, check that this timing is, that I'm doing this correctly. I believe I am. Everything is pretty much right before I pull this tensioner pin out, because I don't want that to be a problem. So I have gone through and confirmed timing is correct. I'm gonna wait to torque to spec just until I kind of have a chance to mess around with this a little bit. I don't really have a whole lot of slack here. That's relatively tight. A little bit here, you can see, a little wobble. And then most of the slack is right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my crankshaft bolt with the little spacer I'm using, stick this back in here, tighten this back down, and we're just gonna basically make a couple of little moves to see if we can't pull some of this slack back out. I'm gonna just pull this back just, actually, before I start moving anything, I'm gonna pull the pin on my tensioner, which probably isn't gonna move a whole lot because it's already really pretty tight. Okay, it did pull a little slack, which is fine. I'm gonna rotate the crank clockwise, just a hair, just like kind of tap it, not even really move a whole lot. The bolt's got to get kind of tight. That's tight. Ooh, that's nice and tight. Check my timing again. The pin is on the pink. The pin is on the pink. The pin is on the orange. But now that I've got my tensioner in there, I'm gonna go ahead and torque these bolts down because why not? So what I'm gonna do is go from the correct timing mark here and basically do one full revolution of each of the camshafts to make sure that I can check the timing once we do a whole revolution, which means I'm gonna have to spin the crank twice. So I've done one revolution of the crank, but my camshafts are only halfway traveled. So we're gonna do one more full rotation here. I'm gonna start from the timing mark on the crank, and I'm gonna count back to the orange mark. And then I'm gonna start from the timing mark on the camshaft, the left cylinder bank, or I guess technically the right-hand cylinder bank, and count over to the pink mark. Then I'm gonna start on the left-hand side, timing mark, and count to the pink one over here. And as long as those are all the same number of links off, we're good to go. 25, 26. So we go from here, 1, 2, 3, 24, 25, 26. Good on this one. 24, 25, 26. All right, timing, good, done. Torqued, tension, sick. Last thing we gotta do, RTV all of this back up. We're just gonna time lapse all of this. I'm gonna take all these gaskets, put them where they need to be, RTV the timing cover, and we'll be done in about 12 seconds. Whew. Job done. Yay. Gallery gaskets, timing chain. It's all done. All right, guys, well, that is gonna wrap up this video for the new JDM VQ refresh, which was obviously the gallery gaskets and replacing all the timing components, and then getting this timing cover back on was a huge pain. So in any case, glad to have it done. And so now we just gotta throw all the other stuff back on there, and this engine is gonna be ready to drop in there, obviously, once we get that one pulled out. If you want to pick up any of the hats, shirts, or hoodies, make sure to head on over to downshiftracing.co so you can pick up some of the merchandise. If you want to support me even further, you can go to patreon.com/buildingwithsean. If you want to help help support the build, help me afford more parts for more cars and more builds in the future, I would really, really appreciate all of you guys for going over that way. Also, if you want to get access to the Discord that we've got set up for Downshift Racing, that is also over on the Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel so you can see the new engine go in. And once we start drifting, we might be going to mid-pond in basically a month. So I've got a lot of work to do to get this thing ready to do that and trailer it over to Alabama to go to mid-pond. So we're excited for that if that works out. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And until next time, build your dreams.